I'd like to introduce Jeffrey Hayzlett, the Chief Marketing Officer of Kodak, who's going to come down and share his perspective. Oh, what happened to sachet?
I decided not to sashay down the staircase because I'm not giving him up. Usually Jeff doesn't like me to do a lot of commercials or anything like that. We try to keep it as clean as possible and these kind of things. So, first of all, thanks for having me. And I'm worried about this whole fat people thing. If you look at
big people?
Yeah, big people. We should say big people.
Yeah, I wanted to start a viral video which was too fat, twice not blessed, you know?
That would be good. I'm just big bone, as they like to say. You know, my wife, I'm from South Dakota. Does anybody know where South Dakota is in the States? It's, ever see the movie Dances with Wolves? All right, that's South Dakota. So for me, where I come from, we all wear cowboy boots, we have horses, things like that. So to me, this is population density right here, okay? This is a lot of people. And my wife is from South Dakota, and she's small and very petite. And I'm much bigger than she is. And so she's about 5'1", about 105 pounds. I'm 6'3", 280 some pounds. And Grandma Agnes, the first time I met her great-grandmother, is even smaller than Tammy. And when I met her, she looked up at Tammy, and she looked way up at me, and she looked at Tammy, and she looked way up at me, and she turned back and she said, "Isn't he bigger than necessary?" So I feel a little bit bigger than necessary with you. I've been asked to give you just one announcement. If you're doing on wireless, it's D-Link wireless, okay? And there's no password. That's what I've been told, so if it doesn't work, yell at the person in the back, okay? Because I don't know, that's all I know. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, when I first came to Kodak a few years ago, we were going through some big changes, lots of changes. And so for us, the social media fit very well with the changes that we wanted to occur. In fact, I was recently with Jeff and in Las Vegas at CES, and I remember I turned to one CMO who says, "I don't get this Twitter thing. I don't get this social media stuff." I'm glad you're my competitor, because we do get it, and it's working very well for us. And I'll talk to you about how we're making money with it, but how we're engaging with customers, which is most important. Now, how many of you have, in the last year, bought a roll of film? Raise your hands. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. One person there and over there. The rest of you, I really appreciate it. How many of you own a digital camera or a digital camera on your phone? Raise your hands. Well, welcome to our world. Because
what happened to Kodachrome?
Kodachrome, we retired after 76 years. It was a technology. It was time to retire it, because there's been over 150 other films since that time period. So in this time period, when you think about it, 5 years ago, we were doing $15 billion in film. 5 years ago. Today, we'll do less than $200 million in consumer film.
Wow.
In 5 years. Roughly a $12 billion company. So in 5 years, we've completely transformed and changed the company. Watched that revenue go down as we had to create some new revenue. 70% of our business was digital, 70% of our business, or was traditional, now is digital. 19 products that we drive today. 19! All of them are number 1, number 2, and number 3 in the marketplace. All of them. Half of those are new in the last 2 years. Half. 60% of the people that work for us are new in the last 4 years. One of the biggest turnarounds in American business history, for world business history, according to Financial Times. Now, I could not wait to come to Kodak. And in fact, I showed up a week early. A week before I passed the urine test or any of the drug tests or anything, I went early. And I'm on the plane flying to Rochester, New York. Now, I don't know if you know about Rochester. Okay? It's very cold there. Okay? It's so cold, all we have to do is stay inside and invent things. Okay? That's what our people do. It's very, very cold there. And I'm on the plane, and I'm sitting next to a very young woman, about 25 years old. And I'm trying to engage her in conversation because I want her to ask me what I do for a living. Because I was excited about going to work for Kodak. And so she's going on and on and on and on, and she's talking about herself and her job, blah, 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 blah. And she's not asking me. So finally she stops and she says, "What do you do?" And I pumped up my chest. And I said, "I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Eastman Kodak." And she said, "Who's that?" So, I knew the job was going to be very unique. And then we had a big job because, see, we were known as your mother's or maybe your grandfather's or grandmother's Kodak, but not a new Kodak. So we had to start to change the way in which we did. So a lot of the things we had to start to do is change the way in which we do products. So we started creating, like, this is a brand new product, never been seen in Europe yet today. This is the first time it's been shown in Europe. My staff, when I was showing it today, hadn't even seen it. This is the new Slice camera, which is just unveiled at CES. But see, we had to start putting products in the market. This is a full screen, touch, has facial recognition. So you touch the pictures and say, this is Susan, and it goes and finds all pictures of Susan. Holds up to 5,000 HD photos on the camera. And not only that, it has one button share, so when I dock it, it automatically uploads the photos, any that I've tagged, to Facebook, to Flickr, to Gallery, wherever you want. So no more moving them around in folders and renaming them and tagging them. All changed like this. But nobody knew about these kinds of products. So most recently, we launched the ZI-8. You guys remember that? The ZI-8. It's been a hot camera, outselling our competitors 10 to 1. Now, we decided when we launched that camera, I said, that name sucks. Okay? That's a marketing term. It sucks. It was the worst name I've ever heard for a product. It was a great product. It was a brand new HD pocket video camera. We put a mic jack on it. Now we launched it. As we launched it, the Boston Globe wrote a big article and said it's one of the 3 best products of the year. The iPhone, the Android, and the ZI-8. They said, but what marketing genius came up with the name? I agreed with them. I thought the name sucked. I immediately printed out the story. I'm running through the halls of Kodak looking for marketing people. Because I'm pulling them into a meeting to say, look at this article, read what it says. We've got the greatest product in the world, but the worst name. And of course, most marketing people are trying not to look at me because they know if they make eye contact with me, I'm going to sign something to them, right? They call it the Hayzlett proximity rule. So if you're within Hayzlett, you make eye contact, you're going to get work. So I rounded up a bunch of them in the office and said, look at this article, look at this article. We've got the greatest product in the world, but the name sucks. I told you the name is terrible. What are we going to do? Someone said, let's go out and let's use Twitter. And let's name it. So we came up with this other camera. This one. Okay? A new prototype, which has now been launched at CES. Now, I've got to show you, this is really cool. Now, what's really cool about this product is it shoots up to 10 hours of video, HD, image stabilization. Lots of good things about it. You can actually see that it's on. It's waterproof. Okay? Try to do that with your flip. But look, it's still going. Look, you look good in the water, too, by the way. I'm actually filming with it. Gosh, that's really good. So I'm filming with it right now. So anyway, we said, look, we've got to have a new name. We're about to launch this product. We're going to launch this. It's still working. Okay? We're about to launch this product, but I'll be doggone, we're going to call it a letter. We had this, we named all of our cameras, the A's, the B's, the C's, the B series, the Z's. Thank God we finally got to Z. What's the next one going to be called? I said, AA, BB, CC, what are you going to do? I said, we have to come up with a better name. And they said, let's do a contest. I said, fantastic. I stood around and said, how many days do we have to do this before we announce it at CES? Because we said, what we do is if we pick your name, we'll take you to CES, we'll have you stand up with me on the podium, we'll do a press conference, and we'll put your picture on the box or in the box because we don't know what you look like yet. Okay? Come on, let's be real, okay? Everyone's a Kodak moment, just not on my box, okay? So that's what we decided. Well, Jeff, maybe. Jeff, it's definitely, sorry, my friend, you and I were in the box, okay? That's just the way it works. Not everybody's eye candy, unfortunately. So what we did was we decided we're going to go out on Twitter. And so what happens in big corporations? Someone says at the meeting, has legal signed off on this? I'm going, oh gosh, those guys, those sneaky bastards. Actually, they're not sneaky, okay? Okay. All right. So anyway, I'm just joking for all those that are on tape. This gets out there. No, please don't tweet that. Because that'll mean I'll have to spend about a day in an HR seminar, okay? And I don't want that to happen. All right, now, so we went out and I said, this would be great. And someone said, well, we can't tweet it. I said, why? They said, well, if it's a contest, we have to get clearance, and we have somebody who signs off on that here in the company. I go, you gotta be kidding me. We have someone who works on contests just in the company? I mean, someone who actually just makes sure that all the contests, we got somebody, I said, I want that freaking job. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good job to me, because I mean, how many contests do we have a year and we get somebody that does it? Anyway, they said, Jeff, there's a fine if we don't get approval. And I'm going, wow, okay, how much could the fine cost? Because I'm thinking, look, I don't have to go through an agency, I don't have to do all this, I'm going to go directly to customers, I'm going to get feedback, I'm going to get all these names, I'm going to get direct, contact with customers. This is absolutely awesome. I'm going to save a couple $100,000. I'm thinking $50,000, okay, it's worth it. And you know what, and if we get in trouble a little bit, then it's worth a press release or two, and the fact that we fight, and that's changed our brand, and showing Kodak is more relevant and faster and quicker and everything else. I said, hit the tweet. Now I thought this process took days and days and days. It actually took 28 hours from the time we came up with the idea to the time that we sent the first tweet. That's how relevant. I know Jeff Merrihew is going to be up here in a little bit talking about how we squeeze the time and how the social media is the state of now, and how we change that, because that's indeed what's happening. This product, from the time that we had the idea to the time it hit the market, is 5 months. 5 months is the time. This product, 6 months. From the time we said go and make it happen to 6 months. Now, the products that are coming out in May, I picked the colors for last week. We were at Windows in Rochester. And I'm telling you, you think this is hot. I can't wait to show you what's also going to be following this in 2 months. It's awesome. And it's going to change the way you start to do video. And it's going to change the way in which you start to share memories. All right? So the contest went out. And we hit the tweet. I sent the tweet at 6:30 at night in Rochester one Tuesday night. Boom. In a matter of 4 days, thousands and 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 thousands, I can keep going. 28,000 names were submitted. Wow. Okay? We came up with a name, 2 names that came to us. Play and sport. We combined them. Okay? 2 good-looking gentlemen who will be in the box. Okay? But play and sport. 3 days after we closed off the contest, the fine came. $300. Exactly. So almost what I thought was for days, but was for hours being held up by legal, was $300. So we said we had to educate them on the state of now, the time of now, how fast things have to move, and we don't have time. Just like some corporations are trying to decide, do we look at every tweet before it goes out from people inside the company? Who gets permission? Who's allowed to be able to say things for the company and who is not? We actually put together some social media guidelines which have actually been passed out for you to be able to take a look at. Use them. Pass them out. They're free for everybody. Because we went through a lot of turmoil trying to figure these things out. And when we make mistakes, absolutely we'll make it. There's no doubt about it. Our social media strategy follows in 4 different things. I call it the 4 E's. The first one is educate. Or excuse me, is engage. First one is engage. That is, you've got to engage with your customers. And engage with those people who don't like it. I mean, I got a tweet the other day that said, at Jeffrey Hayzlett and at Kodak UK, you can take my printer and tell Jeffrey Hayzlett to shove it up his USB port. Or I got another one that said, Kodak, you can go F yourself, and I won't fill in words, with your effing products because you effing suck. Now that was from an employee. Somebody else. And we actually engaged with that person. Now we could have ignored them, but yet that's out on Twitter. And it's out there. So what do? You follow up. The person who said, Jeff Hayzlett, shove it up your USB port, was from the UK. I wrote him back. I said, what's your problem? And good to meet you. Now, in the following tweets, I said, you could have chosen another way to say it. He said, but I got your attention. I said, hello, Jeff, would have got my attention. Because, see, we're listening. I'm watching those things. I have decks of, things that are going on. I have different phones I'm carrying all the time. I'm checking all the time, different keywords. I'm looking, and I'm following. That's just me. But I also have a chief blogger. We named one of the very first chief bloggers in the country. A young woman who's doing an unbelievable job with about 25,000 followers. Those tweets that we got on our name, we actually got more comments on our website during that week than we have during the entire history of our entire website. Wow. Fabulous. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous. Now we've also hired recently a chief listener. Now that person's job isn't just to listen, but to coordinate the activity that's going on. Because how do you get the scale when this stuff starts coming? If you imagine a name like Kodak, you search Kodak, it pops up every few seconds. I mean, it never stops, because Kodak moments is a pretty key word, and people are always saying, here's a Kodak moment, and then they tweet photo it, or they tweet pic it, and so we see these things all the time. And so they're always talking about that, or the Kodak Theater, or our Kodak products, complains for good things about it. But that chief listener acts like an air traffic controller and watches the conversations going on, uses different pieces of software and eyes and ears to be able to watch the conversations and watch the moves. And then we can alter our presentations, we can alter we can do it, and we can engage with the customer. That's number one, engage. The second E becomes educate. Because by listening with our customers, we can now educate. They can educate us, and we can educate them. We can learn that we put out the ZX1 first, and it was weatherproof, and the people said, we don't want weatherproof, we want waterproof. Because see, I've got a 3-year-old, and they're going to do this. Okay? I'm going to go to a football match or a soccer match, and it's raining outside. I don't want to worry about whether or not I can actually use it. Or I'm going on a beach holiday. Or I'm part of my ministry group, and I'm going to Africa, and I need a product that's not going to get sand and dirt in it, because there's not facilities or places where I can wipe it off. So we listen to customers. So this is more for the adventure, the place for it. And then you'll have another product which we'll announce in just a few short weeks or months, which will be more stylistic in terms of its approach, to fit with those people who are a little bit more sophisticated and want something that's more glamorous, or maybe even something that's even smaller, but yet want all the functionality. So, educate. The third word is then excite. Because by educating and by engaging, you get excitement that goes on. And what happens is people start to talk to other people. And so we see someone says, I'm looking to see whether I want to buy a Kodak Play Sport, or maybe I want to buy another product. And we'll say to them, by listening and engaging and educating, by saying, hey, here's 2 people on Twitter who also own this product. Ask them. And so that leads us to the 4th E, which is evangelist. Because what happens is people get excited and they become evangelists, or what we would call a brand ambassador for you. And so they go out of their way to talk about the products and the way in which you do it and getting them out. And so that leads to one last point, which is the ROI. Okay? Because if you're in a big corporation or companies, or you're working with a PR company or something, people are going to talk about, well, what's the ROI? So I'm going to ask you one question. What's your return on ignoring? That's the new ROI. It's not about return on investments. Trust me, I can tell you. We launched this product. We launched the ZIA. I don't have a copy. The one around those. Do you have one? Upstairs. It's okay. Upstairs. Sorry. We launched the ZIA. We spent little, I mean a teeny tiny bit on a couple of ad television commercials. I mean, I'm telling you, less than $1 million. Total spend in the United States. Yet, you cannot find a ZIA right now. In fact, the average price of the ZIA in the U.S. went from $179 to now selling for $249. And we did it completely through Twitter. That's about the return on ignoring. Return on investment. By engaging with customers, educating, exciting, they become evangelistic, and so they tell everybody in the world about it. That's how you make that work. Okay, now I want to bring up the rest of the panel, because there's going to be a panel led by Jeff Merrihew. Jeff I met at Accenture a number of years ago. He's about at every conference event there is in the world. Just flew in from TED, from LA, which we appreciate very much. And Jeff's going to lead us in a little bit of a panel with some other CMOs and some other marketing experts, right, Jeff?
That's right. Now, they don't know it yet because we're going to do this now. So we're going to surprise them and have Ron. Well, you can stay up there.
I can stay?
That's a surprise. That's a Sebastian, are you here? Yeah. Surprise!
Surprise! The state of now.
Pete Kranick, look, he's back there talking. He doesn't even know.
Pete, Sebastian's with Pepsi, right? And then Pete's the head of the CMO Club.
And then Carrie, are you here? Carrie from Florida Valley. Get up here. When? Now!
Now. Should we sit down? Yes. Hello. So now we have 10 people.
We've got a book in.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do a very rapid intro. We know Pete Kranick is the CEO and actually the founder of the CMO Club. Believe it or not, has 800 CMO members in the US. I didn't even know there were that many CMOs. But anyway, he owns them all. Carrie, head of digital for Europe for Porter Novelli, and am I allowed to say that you are our beloved PR agency for Mofil? No, I'm not allowed to say it? Okay, I won't tell you. And Sebastian, special thanks actually. Not only is he here joining us on the panel, the VP Marketing for Pepsi.
Nice product listing, by the way. It's very good.
But anyway, Sebastian, one of the other brands, are co-sponsor because Sebastian is heading up the short film festival that we will be enjoying this evening. So, with no further ado, we're going to stick exactly to the topic of now by asking our members. So I guess I'll just set it up. Folks like me, dinosaur marketers, spent 20 years doing annual marketing plans. We actually spent the previous year setting them up. So in May we'd have a strategy conference. In the fall we'd have a plans meeting, we called it, companies like Kellogg's. And then we'd spend the entire next year trying to stick as close to that plan as we could. And then we'd repeat that year in and year out for decades. Worked pretty well until everything seemed to get disrupted. So I guess the question is any of that sort of traditional fixed planning still in place? If so, tell us about it. And if not, what's changed? Since we just heard from you, I think we'll start over here with Sebastian.
Yeah, can you hear me? We do still have a very much an annual planning process, which I think in our case in marketing has become quite directional. We know what we want to get done, but it's kind of like even our GM's kind of getting into the spin of things, saying, look, your budget's not approved, it's allocated. And we'll check it out quarter by quarter, and we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I think that's coming from the uncertainty of the business environment. But also on the other hand, it's really good because it makes us revisit that every quarter and see if we're still on the right, if we're still on the right track, or if things have really changed. We need to, take our pride out of the way and say, look, we were wrong, we're going to change, and we're just going to start again.
Pass the mic on. I think yes, definitely the traditional planning cycle is still in process because working with your audience is a long-term commitment. It's not something that should be done, excuse me, ad hoc every time. We need flexibility and we need to address things that are going wrong. However, we also need to have an overarching objective that we're working towards and long-term commitments towards that.
Can you repeat the question? No.
Wait.
It's interesting, but within the CMO Club, we do a weekly survey, 5-second survey to all the members or whatever. 6 months ago, we asked a question around how strategic.
We've changed the way in which we do the planning process. We still have the yearly business plan, which is not a question we still have to have in support of, public company, we've got quarters and so forth. But from our marketing perspective, we switched.
People talking about that. So I think, necessity is the mother of invention, and whereas some brands have the luxury to not have to force to change the model.
How boring can that be? I mean, I like him. I like talking to him. He's my boss, but I don't want to do a blogger today because he's not the voice, that personalizes that side. So let's go find someone that personalizes let's go find a Jimmy Sisney who writes about cupcakes and this and cats, and puts a damn camera on our dog's head and films it all day, which is kind of exciting, by the way, and interesting. Her dog drinks out of the toilet, which I thought was kind of interesting. All these kind of things, you can actually do that's different, personalize it. And I think that's what this stuff's going to do. I think it's going to really bring the brand down to what is the essence of the company, and get through all the crap of advertising and policies, procedures, and big corps, and really make it, hey, I know that guy. And a little bit different. I think that's what's going to be kind of cool about it. And I think companies got to find their voice that way.
A friend of mine in Florida, who I didn't know at the time, but in 2008, 2008, right? So a person whose name is Stacy Monk, she had, one day during the U.S. Thanksgiving, right before the U.S. Thanksgiving in 2008, she had this idea that she wanted to use Twitter to raise $10,000. And I was blown away by the learning that took place between the kids and the teacher. And the continuing engagement and the effect that these people are having on other people's lives. When I talk about the world being smaller same time, the next person you meet can change your life. This is an example of how two courageous people from the East Village of New York City are traveling the world and affecting lots of people. And when I look at people who affect change, it's, I don't think there's a point out right over here. So this is AJ and Melissa. Please give them a warm welcome. Make them feel comfortable, and please share this work.
This is my wife, Melissa. We're the co-founders of a company called the LEC Project, a creative agency in New York City. We're really small, but we're basically devoted to the idea of poetic business, and trying to blur the lines between business, for-profit activity, and charity. So we get involved in a lot of projects that are social justice programs or social justice related programs, and try to use any expertise or anything that we've learned, leveraging the social web to add to them. So, who are the Twitter kids of Tanzania? So Jeff told you a little bit about Stacy Monk, who's the co-founder of Epic Change. And Epic Change is a great organization located in the United States that helped out. They were formed in 2008 with the express intention of helping a woman by the name of Mama Lucy. And on Twitter, she's actually at Mama Lucy. You can speak with her. She's actually pretty active. And she runs a school called Shepherd's Junior School, which started as like a chicken coop. You know, she used a chicken coop to basically fund the school, and it was 6 kids, and now there's over 300 children there being educated, mostly due to the help that she received from Epic Change and the way they were able to leverage Twitter to raise funds and raise awareness for this woman. So anyways, I met Stacy actually at the 140 conference in New York. In early 2009. That was the first time I had met her in person. I knew about Thanksgiving that Jeff talked about. And we just met there, and we've been tweeting back and forth and became good friends. And at that conference, I got a chance to brag about my wife, who I brag about all the time. And because Melissa had done work using social media in the classroom. So she was the first teacher in New York City to use it as an actual element of teaching within the New York City public school system. And anyway, so you fast forward a few months, and Stacy had already built a classroom, or Epic Change had already built a classroom in Tanzania. And then they won a grant to basically build a tech lab to bring computers and get the kids on the internet. And a few months later, we got a call from Stacy asking if Melissa could develop the curriculum that she used in public school for the developing world. So this is a picture of the origins of the Twitter Kids curriculum, which actually starts in New York City.
Tell their own story. So we had them on Tumblr and just tried to introduce it to them as this is like your own personal space. These kids, most of them they share everything. So for them to have an idea of this is my thing, where I can express my views on what I'm thinking was just mind-blowing for them. So this is actually Leia's blog, and just talking about what she's grateful for, what she wants to do in her future, and it's just really, really cool thing to see.
Yeah, and you can see the way that they express themselves. And some of them, Tumblr is an interesting platform because you can actually like put on, sound bites and all this different stuff. And some of them would actually take sound clips with the camera of the thunderstorms that are so normal around the base of Marussia. And then they learn how to upload it to their blog for a week and a half. And it was just this interesting to see the expression and just to see it kind of through their eyes.